How did this game of death turn into the enemy of people's lives? Why is death hunting people one by one in this movie? What crime had these people committed, because of which death pulled them into its arms? Why couldn't they escape this deadly game no matter how hard they tried? Let's find out. The movie begins in 1968, where we see a couple named Paul and Iris. Paul wanted to surprise Iris, so he took her to a newly opened restaurant in the city called Sky Tower. Seeing the place, Iris became extremely happy. For the restaurant's promotion, their photo was taken, and in the background we notice a child, the son of a singer at the party. His name was William. Paul and Iris then went inside the restaurant, whose entire floor was made of glass. At the center, there was a live kitchen where chefs were cooking. The atmosphere was very cheerful. Everyone was enjoying the party. While dancing, Iris plucked a rose and placed it into Paul's jacket pocket, but a thorn pricked Paul's hand, making his finger bleed. Seeing the blood, Iris began to feel nauseous and started vomiting. Watching this, the singer quietly asked her, "Are you pregnant?" At first, Iris was shocked, but soon she realized it might be true. Happiness spread across her face, and she decided to tell Paul. When she came back to the party, Paul took her up to the terrace and proposed to her. Iris said yes and also shared the news about her pregnancy. Paul's joy knew no bounds. Meanwhile, we see William tossing a coin from the terrace. Instead of falling to the ground, the coin gets stuck in the air conditioning duct. Back inside, the party continued. People were dancing, but the glass floor slowly began to shift. The coin rolled inside the AC pipes, and suddenly, the floor gave way, causing many people to fall. Paul grabbed onto a broken glass panel to save himself, but his hands and legs were badly cut, and eventually, he too fell and died. Iris somehow managed to survive. The coin continued moving through the ducts until it got stuck in a gas pipe, sparking a fire. The restaurant caught flames, and the singer burned to death. Iris hid under a piano to save herself and ran towards the elevator when she saw a chance. But the elevator was already overcrowded, and due to imbalance, it crashed, killing everyone inside. Shocked, Iris ran back upstairs, only to find half of the restaurant collapsing to one side. The only thing keeping it balanced was the piano under which she had hidden earlier. Then, the coin fell from the ducts directly onto the piano, disturbing the balance, and half of the structure came crashing down, killing more people. In the next scene, Iris tried to save little William. She tied her ring between two chains to create support, but her grip slipped, and both she and William fell to their deaths. Suddenly, a girl's scream was heard, and we realize all of this was just a hallucination of Stephanie. Her scream disturbed the classroom, and when the professor asked, she admitted that she often has such terrifying hallucinations and visions. That night, Stephanie had another nightmare and woke up trembling. Seeing this, her roommate advised her to talk to her family. The next day, Stephanie went to visit her father and younger brother. Together, she and her brother then visited their uncle's house, her mother's brother. Stephanie was deeply attached to her cousins, and everyone had a good time. But then Stephanie asked her uncle about Iris. Yes, the same Iris who kept appearing in her dreams. In reality, she was Stephanie's grandmother. But at the mention of Iris's name, her uncle got angry and said, "Your grandmother is dead to us. She went mad and left to live on an island. She never came back to see us, and because of her, your mother's mental health was ruined. She left us too." Saying this, he stormed off. Later, Stephanie's aunt quietly handed her some letters from Iris, her address, and an old photo, the same one taken of Paul and Iris in front of the Sky Tower restaurant. Looking at it, Stephanie realized she had already seen this place many times in her dreams. Wanting to know the truth, she decided to visit the island where Iris lived. On reaching there, Stephanie introduced herself. Hearing her name, Iris became emotional, hugged her, and asked about her mother. Stephanie told her that her mother had left her when she was just a child. Then she shared about her recurring dream of the Sky Tower restaurant, where she always saw Paul and Iris die. Shocked, Iris revealed, "The visions you see, I used to have them too. And because of those visions, I was able to stop the tragedy that day. I took the coin from the boy's hand and warned everyone through the mic that the floor was about to collapse. Because of that, people left early and many lives were saved." Hearing this, Stephanie was stunned and asked, "So, you actually saved everyone at that party?" Iris then says, "Yes, that day I managed to trick death and save everyone's lives. But death never stopped chasing them. It kept hunting them down one by one. Even the children born after that tragedy had to face this deadly game. That's how Paul, too, was eventually killed by death's design. And then I realized my turn was next. That's why I came here to hide. Because if I die, death will come for you and your brother too. But as long as I'm alive, nothing will happen to either of you." Hearing this, Stephanie asks her, "Then why am I having these visions?" To this, Iris replies, "Because now death is after us again." This terrifies Stephanie. Iris then gives her a book which contained all the details of how the survivors of that old tragedy were later killed and how one might possibly cheat death. But Stephanie doesn't believe her and says she'll return later before leaving. Watching her go, Iris decides to finally face death in order to protect her children. For years, she had remained hidden inside her cabin so that death couldn't find her. She hands the book to Stephanie and warns her, "Now death will come after you. To survive, you'll need this book." But Stephanie still refuses to believe. So Iris says, "Fine, then watch how I die." Just then, gas begins leaking nearby, and because of it, objects start toppling over. A heavy chain swings down and slashes Iris's throat, killing her instantly. Stephanie, horrified, finally realizes everything was true. Suddenly, she remembers, now it's her mother's turn. Desperate to save her, she opens the book and finds the very same coin Iris once used to stop the accident. She quickly calls her family to warn them, but no one answers. They are all busy at a party. Meanwhile, strange things begin happening at the party. A glass shatters and a shard falls into the ice bucket. When Stephanie's uncle scoops some ice, the shard slips into his drink, though he sets the glass aside. Other objects in the house start shifting, as if part of some invisible plan. Then, the glass slips from his hand, and the shard cuts into his foot. In pain, he collapses, the impact causing vibrations in the floor. A tool falls onto the lawnmower nearby, turning it on. Suddenly, the mower's blade smashes into his face, killing him gruesomely. The family, shocked and terrified, panics. Stephanie rushes in and tries to explain that death is after them. She tells them that the people who survived the Skyview restaurant incident were all hunted down later, and now even their next generations are marked. If her mother dies, she says she'll be next, and after her, her uncle's children too. No one believes her, except her mom. But Stephanie was never very close to her mother and barely spoke to her. Next, we see Stephanie's cousin Eric at his piercing shop. He too wore a nose ring. As he finished work and was about to leave, suddenly a fan with a magnetic chain started running. The chain snapped toward his nose ring, pulling him violently. Nearby, kerosene had spilled, and fire broke out instantly. Eric managed to free himself from the chain, but fell into the flames. When Stephanie learns of this, she rushes to the shop with her brother, knowing Eric was her uncle's son and destined to be Death's next victim. But to her shock, they meet Eric alive on the way. Strangely, despite the horrific accident, he only had minor injuries on his arm. Stephanie was just talking to him when a speeding truck suddenly hit him, yet Eric still survived without a scratch. Stephanie was baffled. Eric smirked and said, "Didn't I tell you? Nothing can kill me." But Stephanie, still shaken, kept scanning the area for threats. Just then, a garbage truck passed by. She warned Eric to stay away from it, but instead he playfully clung to it, unharmed. Suddenly, Eric's sister went out for a walk. Her foot tripped on a ball, and she toppled into a garbage bin. The garbage workers, unaware, quickly lifted the bin and dumped it into their truck. Horrified, Stephanie climbed onto the truck to save her cousin. But by the time she reached, the crushing system had already started. Before her very eyes, her cousin's body was mangled into pieces. All that remained was her severed hand, still clutched in Stephanie's own. The death of Eric's sister left the entire family deeply disturbed. Stephanie felt that instead of Eric's sister, it should have been her elder brother Eric who died. Just then, Stephanie's aunt revealed a shocking truth. Eric was not her uncle's biological son. That's why death spared him, but his sister died instead, as she was their real daughter. Hearing this, Stephanie was stunned, and slowly the rest of the family began to believe her words. Eric's younger brother Bobby, however, grew terrified, convinced that he would be the next target. Desperate, he asked Stephanie for help. Stephanie then took Bobby to meet a man who had survived the Skyview incident, and had even managed to cheat death afterward. After a short journey, they reached him. Stephanie called him Jeb, which shocked the man because only Iris used to call him by that name. Stephanie asked him how he knew Iris, and he revealed that he had also been at the Skyview party. His mother was the singer who had performed there. Realizing this, Stephanie connected the dots and recognized him. He was the little boy from her visions. Jeb went on to explain that years later, Iris had come to him for help to save Paul from death. But despite all their efforts, they failed. Shocked, Stephanie asked him if anyone had survived for real. Jeb replied, "Yes, 2 people did." Stephanie begged for his help, but Jeb refused, saying he had already cheated death once and would never risk it again. Just then, one of Stephanie's cousins came up with an idea. They would deliberately push Bobby near death by making him eat peanuts, since he was allergic to them. Then when death came to claim him, they would use anti-allergic medication to bring him back. That way, they could trick death, and once death was cheated, it would stop chasing them. But things went horribly wrong. As Eric went to get peanuts from a vending machine, the machine jammed and one of its springs came loose. Eric then left Bobby in a room and went to fetch the anti-allergic injection. On his way out, he accidentally pressed some buttons on the wall, which switched on an MRI machine in the same room. When Eric returned, he gave Bobby the peanut hot chocolate. But just then, the MRI's magnetic field activated. Eric, whose body was covered in piercings, was violently pulled toward the machine. Meanwhile, Bobby managed to inject himself in time and survived the allergic reaction. But at that very moment, the loose vending machine spring shot across the room and pierced into Bobby, killing him instantly. Now, Stephanie feared her mother's life was next. She urged her family to move into her grandmother's cabin, where Iris had remained safe for years. As she picked up the book, the coin hidden inside fell out and was found by an old woman nearby. When Stephanie pushed her mother and younger brother into the cabin, a sudden gas leak triggered an explosion. The blast sent Stephanie's car crashing into the water. At the same time, a tower nearby began collapsing. Stephanie's mother rushed out and managed to save her, but was killed when the tower fell on her. Stephanie's younger brother realized that now it would be her turn, so he jumped into the water and pulled her out. Stephanie had drowned and nearly died, but through CPR, her breath returned. She had defeated death for now. The movie then jumps forward a few years. We see Stephanie's brother, Charlie's graduation party. Stephanie places a rose in his pocket, but its thorn pricks her hand, exactly like what once happened to Iris. This meant the game wasn't over yet. Meanwhile, we see the same old woman who had picked up the coin. The coin slips out of her purse and gets stuck between railway tracks. Back at Stephanie's house, a friend of Charlie's, who was a doctor, visits them. He tells Stephanie, "You're very lucky to be alive. Normally, if a person stops breathing for 5 minutes, they are clinically dead." Hearing this, Stephanie and Charlie glance at each other in fear. Suddenly, Stephanie hears the sound of a train approaching, headed straight toward them. They try to run, but it's already too late. Pieces of shattered wood fly off from the train and stab into their bodies, killing both of them instantly. And with this chilling horror scene, the movie comes to an end. So friends, how did you like this movie? Do let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.